Alright, let's dive into something that's been bubbling up in the news lately, and trust me, it's a lot more complex than the headlines make it seem. So, President Trump recently hinted that a deal regarding the Strait of Hormuz could be announced as early as today or tomorrow. Now, on the surface, this might sound like just another diplomatic update, but personally, I think this is a massive deal, and not just for the Middle East. What makes this really interesting is the context. We are talking about a critical choke point for global oil supply, and the negotiations involve Iran, Oman, and indirectly, the US. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about reopening a waterway, it's about geopolitical power plays, economic leverage, and the future of the region. Here's the thing, the Strait of Hormuz has been a flashpoint since the US and Israel attacked Iran back in February. Since then, it's been closed, causing massive disruptions to global trade. Now, Iran and Oman are reportedly close to a deal that would allow ships to transit the strait again. But here's where it gets tricky. The proposal involves Iran controlling inbound traffic and Oman managing outbound traffic. From my perspective, this is a huge concession, especially for the US, which has historically been adamant about keeping the strait an international waterway. What many people don't realize is that giving Iran any level of control here could be seen as a strategic win for Tehran, especially after months of conflict. This raises a deeper question. Is the US backing down, or is this a calculated move to de-escalate tensions? Another detail I find fascinating is the issue of service fees. Initially, there were reports that Iran and Oman might charge tolls for ships using the strait. Trump was quick to shut that down, saying, "I'm not going to let them charge." But here's the kicker, the latest proposal reportedly includes a service fee split between Iran and Oman. In my opinion, this is a classic example of diplomatic compromise. Calling it a service fee instead of a toll might be a semantic workaround, but it still gives Iran a financial stake in the strait's operations. What this really suggests is that both sides are willing to bend a little to get a deal done, which is a rare sight in today's polarized geopolitical landscape. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The US has been burning through its stockpile of long-range precision missiles during this conflict, and reports suggest they've used nearly all of their ATACMS and precision strike missiles. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has downplayed these concerns, but if you ask me, this is a red flag. A detail that immediately stands out is the imbalance between the rate of usage and the ability to replenish these weapons. This isn't just a logistical issue, it's a strategic vulnerability. If the US can't sustain its military operations at this pace, it weakens their negotiating position. Personally, I think this could be a driving force behind the push for a deal on the Strait of Hormuz. It's not just about reopening a waterway, it's about finding a way out of a conflict that's becoming increasingly costly. Meanwhile, the humanitarian situation in Iran is dire. The UN Rights Chief, Volker Turk, recently expressed alarm over the surge in executions since March, with at least 56 people executed on national security charges. What makes this particularly troubling is the timing. These executions coincide with anti-government protests and seem to be a tactic to suppress dissent. In my opinion, this is a stark reminder of the human cost of political instability. While the world focuses on oil and missiles, ordinary Iranians are paying the price. This raises a deeper question. How much does the international community prioritize human rights when negotiating deals like the one over the Strait of Hormuz? Finally, let's not forget the Houthi attacks on Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea. Yemen's Iran-backed rebels have been escalating their maritime blockade, targeting Saudi vessels. This isn't just a sideshow, it's part of the same geopolitical chessboard. The Houthis are essentially extending Iran's reach, putting pressure on Saudi Arabia, and complicating regional dynamics. From my perspective, this is a reminder that the conflict isn't contained to Iran and the US, it's a multi-front war with ripple effects across the Middle East. So, where does this leave us? A deal on the Strait of Hormuz could be a significant step toward de-escalation, but it's far from a resolution. Personally, I think the real test will be how this agreement holds up in practice, and whether it addresses the underlying tensions between the US and Iran. What this really suggests is that even small diplomatic victories can have big implications. But let's be honest, in a region as volatile as the Middle East, nothing is ever simple. What do you think? Is this deal a game changer, or just a temporary band-aid? Let me know in the comments below.